Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. We are discussing a brand new program at Tarleton State University, the Doctor of Occupational Therapy program. And I'm pleased to be joined today by the program's founding director, Dr. Shannon Lewandowski. And as she's going through her presentation, if you do have questions, we ask that you please submit those using the Q&A box or the chat box, and we will handle those at the end of the presentation. So at this time, I will just turn things over to Dr. Lewandowski.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to introduce our brand new entry-level Doctorate of Occupational Therapy, and I'm welcoming you here today. So to give you a little bit of information, I'm the program director, and we are entering into our very first admission cycle right now. And we are accepting students and they will be starting in June. So we are all of the remaining faculty are not listed here, but I will share with you their names. We have a program specialist, that's Mr. Chris Langer. So if you get emails from him, that's who that is. And we also have 3 other faculty members as well, Dr. Benefente, Dr. Johnson, and Dr. Warner. At this time, those are our primary faculty that will be starting your OT journey with you, should you choose us. So occupational therapy is a very holistic profession, and we focus on facilitating participation and engagement in meaningful activities in people's daily lives. And often it gets misunderstood as job for occupation, but the word occupation actually comes from understanding the things that we do that occupy our time, activities, groups, all kinds of things that we do that matter to us. So, and as an occupational therapy, we really consider the complex relationship between a person, the things that they love to do, and their environment. And so depending on if there's injury or an individual is born needing assistance, or as we get old, if we need assistance, occupational therapists are the individuals that balance that you as an individual plus the activities that are important to you and the environment. And we look at how we can accommodate or adapt any or all of those to make you feel more purposeful in your life. So how do you become an occupational occupational therapist? Well, the first step is to attend something like this so you can learn all about it. But once you have a sense that you want to do that route and you want to go to OT school, there are actually two different ways that you can be an occupational therapy practitioner. You can go to school to be an occupational therapist, or you can go to school to be an occupational therapy assistant. Those are 2 entry-level points of practice. What we're talking about here today is an entry-level doctorate program. There are also entry-level master's programs. Both are acceptable at the entry point into the profession. So you go to a program, either a doctorate or a master's program, to learn the foundational skills and participate in the program. And then you graduate. And then you are able to sit for the board exam. And then once you obtain a passing score for that, you're then able to apply for your licensure in your given state. All states require that you pass the first initial certification exam in order to obtain your licensure. That's where if OT isn't new to you and you've seen it before, you may have seen the initials OTR. R means you've passed that exam. And if you work in other states, sometimes they list an L, and L is what means you have your state license. The state of Texas does not have practitioners write an L. But when you pass the course, you get your courses are all done, you graduate, you pass the board exam, then you provide the state with your transcript and your passing MBCOT, and then you can practice as an occupational therapist. Occupational therapists work in all kinds of settings, and I've listed a few here, but there are so many more. These are the ones that people are often most familiar with. So hospitals, rehab hospitals, mental health facilities, health offices, school-based opportunities, skilled nursing facilities, community-based facilities, home health agencies. Those are very common facilities that occupational therapists work at. However, in our program, we are hoping to also create entrepreneurs and those interested in private practice or creating a new path of their own. And that is one of the things within our program that we are very proud to highlight. We want to ignite the interests of students, not only in occupational therapy, but paving new ways for occupational therapy jobs. So a little bit about our program. Our program is 86 doctorate level credits. So that's 86 graduate credits. So if you are curious and you want to fill in the information for how much we cost, you can go into the College of Graduate Studies, and there's a little page there where you can enter how many credits, and it'll populate the cost. So we're 86 total credits, and that's an estimated, you can get an estimated cost given that. We're 8 semesters, and we only start in summer. So our application cycle opens in the summer and goes all the way through until all seats are filled, and then we start in summer. We have a summer start of 8 weeks, and that first summer is really a leveling opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to get comfortable at Tarleton, to get comfortable with your faculty, to understand the environment, the expectations. It's a shift from undergrad. It's a big jump from undergrad to professional doctorate. So we'll prepare students for the expectations for doctorate level work in that summer. And then starting in fall, you begin professional education and really begin to implement those skills that you learned during those 8 weeks. You go for an entire year, fall, spring, summer, fall again, and then that following spring, you're out for your clinical work, and you do 2 semesters of clinical work as fieldwork student, which means you're practicing under an occupational therapist. And then your very last fall semester, you complete what's called a capstone experience, and that requires an OT mentorship, but does not require OT supervision, because the capstone experience is meant to enhance the doctorate experience. So it's not necessarily clinically based. And again, and the 2 fieldwork rotations they are full-time internships. So if you're thinking ahead and you're planning, you want to think ahead about costs related to not being able to work a full-time job. The program itself, I may not have mentioned it, but it is face-to-face. There are occasional opportunities for some things that could be online, but primarily you are on labs. In class, you are working together with students and professors, and you're on site. When you transition out of that, then you're doing your internship, and that internship is it's considered full-time equivalent. So whatever full-time is defined at the facility, somewhere between 35 to 40 hours a week, you will be doing for 2 semesters, 2 12-week rotations. And then in the last fall, you're doing the same thing, but likely at a rural community-based experience. But again, that is also full-time. So when you're thinking about transitioning to doctorate level programs in professional healthcare tracks, these are often 1-year clinical expectations. Some things that are very intentionally built in the Tarleton OT program are the opportunity for 3 research courses that involve sharing that information with others, as well as 1 big final capstone research that you will do and share with your community. We also hope that we're sharing it with not only local community, but bigger communities. And then we are committed to our rural community. And so we also have a strong focus on rural care. And when you start in fall, you have 4 semesters with a 1-credit course, which takes a deeper dive in understanding rural health care, rural populations, rural care, healthcare accessibility, and programming. Ooh. Oh, I think one skipped. There we go. Yes. So a little bit about admission. This is probably the biggest question that we are asked, so I'm happy to go over this. You want to get your prerequisites done if you can. The prior to applying in what's called OTCAS. OTCAS is where 98%, if not more, but generally every program in the United States uses OTCAS, and that is where students apply to OT programs. You apply there first, fill in all the information. The good news with OTCAS is if you are exploring all kinds of OT schools, you're trying to find what's the best fit for you, OTCAS is where you can apply to all of those, and you can just populate your preferences in there. But I would recommend, if it's possible, to have your prerequisites completed before OTCAS is started. However, that is not a requirement. You can still be doing those in progress, and you can move through the process of applying, finishing up those prerequisites in those semesters prior to graduating. And we would discuss having, if you move forward and you are accepted, you'd be accepted with provisional acceptance of if you once you finish successfully those prerequisites. And if you have questions about prerequisites, the email is otadmissions@tarleton.edu. That is specifically for students engaging in the admissions process. Once we have received the applications, generally we are, the admissions committee meets in the fall, and then you're invited to interviews, which are fun. We come to campus. We really want to get to know you, the student, as well as you get to know us as faculty, and see if there's a comfortable feeling there and you feel like it's a good match for you. When you are invited to the interview process, at that point, you apply to the College of Graduate Studies, and then they begin their process, so that when you move forward with getting offered a slot, you're also moving forward with getting accepted in the College of Graduate Studies. So it's kind of it's a two-step process with this graduate program. Offers for cohort slots generally start in January. However, we may keep things open if we still have openings for students. We want to try to get as many students as we can in our cohorts. And I mentioned this before, Tarleton is proud of its rural education and its rural setting and its rural community. So we focus on the rural components of OT practice and how we can develop and understand rural health and explore rural health initiatives and access for OT services and access to mental health services and all the types of things that we can engage in as occupational therapists in rural communities. I'm making sure this one's still, yes, this one's still updated. I'm glad I updated it. The accreditation status. So Tarleton State's a new program, and with that comes a lot of steps to get from the start to the finish. And we are at the end of the accrediting process. We have a couple more steps to go, but we're in progress with those right now. We have been granted candidacy status. It's listed here, and it's listed all over our website too, so that students are aware. That means we have met the first rigorous step toward accreditation. We've done step 1 and we met the steps, and we've moved forward to the next stage. So that means that we are now in self-study. That means we are checking all the boxes to be sure that we have everything in place to be an accredited program for students. So as part of that process, students may be engaged in some of those conversations as we get closer to submitting that documentation. After we submit our first self-study, it's a big application. We submit it. The reviewers at ACOTE, our accrediting body, look at them. They provide feedback, and then they plan for their visit. And the on-site visit is March 2027. And then we would know the status of our accreditation by April 2027, which means that before you graduate and before you go out on your second field work and capstone, you would already know about the accrediting status. I do want to clarify, as an ACOTE reviewer myself, I just want to reassure students that the accreditation process is intended to facilitate programs reaching that status. It is not intended to weed out programs. So as we're going through the process, we receive input and supports to receive full candidacy. Part of the process is receiving feedback to have a successful accreditation. Oh, okay. Now it's time for questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Lewandowski. So for our live audience members, this is the time when you have the opportunity to submit your own questions. You should see a Q&A box or even the chat box that you can submit your questions. We'll handle those shortly. And in the meantime, I have a few questions of my own for you, Dr. Lewandowski. You mentioned that this is an in-person program. So on which campus is this program based?
So I'm glad you asked me that question, because although I cannot share images yet, hopefully we'll be able to do that soon. The OT program is part of the brand new building in Stephenville that has been built specifically for the OT program. So we have three custom designed OT labs on the first floor of a brand new building, right, if you're familiar with Tarleton campus in Stephenville, right next to the nursing building. It will actually be attached to the nursing building. It's on the bottom floor, and we'll have an apartment, adult rehab set up. We will have an assistive technology, innovation, creation space, that lab. And then we will also have a pediatric lab. So I'm glad you asked me that question. We are in the final stages of that building's completion.
That is super exciting. So then when students come, your first cohort comes in this summer, where will they be located? That new building?
Actually, it's as with all new builds, there's a float around when the entry date is, but we have already, class schedules have already been developed. And at this time, they're going to be in the nursing building. But if we can, we'll punt and move next door. But otherwise, we've already got classroom space reserved in the nursing building, as well as we hope to have a couple fun surprises in some of the labs, and kind of exploring opportunities throughout campus as well.
Very good. Sounds exciting. So you had mentioned that there are two options for becoming an occupational therapist, and some involve an entry-level doctoral program like ours, and then some are master's level. Can you explain?
Yes. Okay, so I'll start backwards. So what I shared was that it's called OT practitioner, and an OT practitioner can be an OT assistant. And that's typically, although not always, that's typically done at the associate's level. I think our closest partners who have programs are Navarro and Weatherford. They have OTA programs. And then you have OT programs, and those are master's or doctorate level. The primary difference between the two is the level of depth you go for particular content. So the doctorate has a deeper dive in research, a deeper dive in understanding Roles around entrepreneurship, advocacy, education, a little bit of a deeper dive so that students coming out a little bit more deeply prepared for those types of roles. However, both are intentionally designed for entry-level practice. So either of those meet the standards for getting you to be able to pass the board. It's the same board exam.
That's helpful to know. So then some prospects might be to know if they were to enter an OTV program, does that mean when they graduate that they can be a doctor?
Oh, that's another very good question. Actually, if you okay, so the best way to the simplest answer is no, they cannot be called doctor. Neither can anyone who's not a physician in the state of Texas. The state of Texas has it is intended for, let me rephrase it. We, as healthcare providers, put our patients first. For that reason, we do not go by doctor in the clinic because we are not doctors, and we don't want to create confusion between patient and individual. So if I walk in and I say I'm Dr. Lewandowski in the clinic, that could cause patient confusion thinking that I'm a physician, and we don't want that. And so OTs, PTs, actually anyone, but in particular, those two that are entry-level doctorates may not be called doctor in the clinical role. However, if you are an academic, then you are called doctor. So if you see where it says, I actually have 2 doctorates. So my terminal one is listed there on the screen. So it's a little bit different. But if you were working as an academic and you are a professor, you may be called doctor in that setting. But you cannot misrepresent yourself as a doctor physician in the clinic. And it's really for the patient's protection.
Yes. Now, what academic backgrounds would do well in this type of program?
We often get a lot of kinesiology folks, a lot of folks that are on PT or OT tracks. Those are often kind of pre-healthcare, health science. In OT, we also love to see psychology majors and we love to see education majors. Quite honestly, in OT, because we're just a little bit different, as long as you have your prerequisites, it doesn't matter what your degree is. We welcome all perspectives.
Okay. Can you talk more about those prerequisites? What type of coursework is it, and how extensive is it? Is it 5 courses?
I don't have it in front of me, but so I'm going to do it by memory best I can. The majority of OT programs all have similar prerequisites, and it comes from a place of our accrediting standards expect a student to have a certain level of knowledge before starting an OT program. Everybody's going to have an A&P requirement, A&P 1 and 2 in person. That is difficult, but we are a healthcare profession. You got to do that. You got to get your A&P in there. We also have a psychology requirement for developmental psychology. Health, I think it's abnormal psychology. I'm not looking at my cheat sheet. We have statistics because we do a lot of you do research because we're an evidence-based profession, and you will do a capstone, so you do need to have basic statistics. And then we have sociology, and that's it. I feel like I'm missing one, but it's okay. Please go to our website under admissions and pull that down, and you will see that. Also, when you go into CAS, it'll populate what you need to fill in. One thing that we have made some adjustments based on some feedback. We want to be accessible for all students. So for this reason, we removed a couple of barriers to enhance the opportunities for all students to join us. So what we do not have any longer is a requirement for observation with an OT. So that is not a requirement for our program anymore, because upon reflection, there aren't many OTs in Stephenville or in rural areas. So it's actually a barrier to try to meet that requirement. So we wanted to remove that, and hopefully we'll just be able to serve as good leaders and examples of OT faculty.
Well, and just to clarify for people who may not know, A&P is Academy and okay, very good. And you mentioned the rural emphasis, which is so intriguing. And of course, Tarleton's main campus is in Stephenville, Texas, the rural area. But can we talk more about the philosophy that went into the decision to have this special?
So I would say I have to go back and look if it's 2021 or 2022. I think it's both, actually. The university's president really wanted to begin to enhance healthcare opportunities at Stephenville. And so he requested funding from the state. And so at the state level, we received, as an institution, funding to support healthcare programs, some other things as well, but for my purposes of this conversation, healthcare programs with a focus on rural community, really giving back to that community and creating the service providers that will go back into the community. So it is our goal, because we have been created and charged by our institution to create the leaders and create the professionals that will serve our local community. So kind of like Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. That's our hope.
Very good. Sounds like a noble and worthy cause.
We hope so. And we are, obviously, Tarleton being a part of the A&M system, the OT program is the only one in the A&M system. So we would love to see some of our system folks come and join us at Tarleton.
So you're in the process of finalizing your first cohort, and right now we're in mid-February. So realistically, if someone wants to join,
they still have time.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well,
yes, our OT-CAS will still be open and through April. And so we will still be reviewing those and hosting interview days. If you're interested, we will be doing some preview days. If you're on campus at Tarleton, you can go and check out some fun things that we're going to do. We're still finalizing details, but we hope to have a couple preview days this spring as well to really ignite interest about the program.
Very good. Well, it sounds very exciting. Congratulations on all the hard foundational work you put in to get the program to this level. And thank you to our live audience members. For anyone who's watching and interested, please reach out to Dr. Lewandowski. Recording of this webinar will be available to review on demand on the College of Graduate Studies YouTube channel. And so we invite you to review this again as needed, and please share it with others who might be interested in joining this program at some point in the future. So thank you, Dr. Lewandowski. Thank you to our audience. And I think at this time, we will end our webinar.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone.